Today we're here with Joe PV Trader, and we're going to be talking about nodes, the different types of nodes, what you use nodes for, and also strategies to use those within the rest of the protocol. So welcome, Joe. Let's talk about nodes. First, can you give us an overview of the different types of nodes and why we might want to get into one type of node over another?
So yeah, absolutely. Nodes are very attractive because of their high APR. Simply, you use EMP to buy a node, and in return, the nodes pay out EMP on a daily basis, and they'll continue paying out until you hit 400%. So they are a 400% ROI protocol. We have different nodes for different prices, starting with the Nano all the way up to what we call the Giga. That's the biggest one. Each one will generate EMP, but the rate or the efficiency at which they generate those EMP rewards will vary. The bigger the node, the more efficient it is, meaning it will make more EMP. So if you look at a mega, that costs 4,000 EMP to buy. A giga is 8,000. So 2 megas is the same cost as a giga. But if you have enough to get a giga, it makes more sense than to buy that giga versus the mega, because the output or the emissions will actually be higher than owning 2 megas for the same price. So the bigger the node, the more efficient, the faster it makes EMP. The nice thing about nodes is that it makes EMP regardless if we are above or below peg. The other area of the protocol that makes EMP is a boardroom. That makes very high APR, generates new EMP, where the nodes are on a constant stream of making EMP regardless of the peg position. So they're a good way of having EMP. From there, though, you really have to ask yourself, what are you going to do with those EMP? Because EMP is just half of the equation, because you cannot reinvest EMP into any other part of the protocol by itself. Best strategy is to have a very good farm position, whether you're in one or all three of the farms, to generate those eShares. Because from there, you can sell your eShare rewards for Ethereum, and then the Ethereum can be matched up with your EMP emissions from the nodes to make more LPs. So in essence, you are earning eShares, you're earning EMP, you're pairing them together through LP, you're reinvesting in the farms, and you're creating that infinite money loop.
I think it's an interesting point you're making about the EMP token not really being able to be used directly by itself in any other part of the protocol, which is an interesting way of putting it. So we all preach not to sell EMP, yet there functionally isn't a lot you can do with EMP on its own, like we were just discussing. So that's why it's so important, because you can do something very important with EMP, and that's pair it with Ethereum. But of course, then you have to have the Ethereum to pair it with. And if you don't want to bring fresh capital in, that's where what Joe's talking about with the farms is so important, because you need a way to generate that Ethereum by earning eShares and then selling those for Ethereum to create your pairs, which allows you to then do all kinds of stuff, because the entire protocol really runs off the EMP ETH LP pair, not as much EMP. Would you say so?
Absolutely. You have it 100% right. So having EMP alone doesn't do much for you within the protocol. If you ape into nodes as your very first investment, especially if you use all of your dry powder, meaning all of the asset that you have to buy the node, then you really put yourself in a corner, because from there you cannot expand in the protocol. So in the beginning, you'll be getting nice, juicy EMP rewards, but you'll quickly realize that you have all this EMP, and what do you do with it? So anyone that's starting off in nodes as their first investment really needs to have Ethereum within their wallet, because then you can take those EMP emissions, pair it up with the Ethereum that you have in your wallet, and now make those LPs for the farm.
You mentioned about the time in which it takes, but is there any difference between the nodes in terms of one paying out more than another?
So they all will ROI 400%. So if you look at, like, say, the Giga, it's 8,000 EMP. So the max payout of that will be 400%. So if you take the 8,000 and you multiply it by 4, that gives you 32,000 EMP. They all will do that. What is different between each of the nodes is how much you earn on a daily basis. The bigger the node, the faster that ROI will take. So they all will finish with 400% ROI, but just the bigger node does it that much faster. And the nice thing about nodes is, if you can't afford a Giga, you can start with a Nano or a Mini. And then if you are generating enough eShares and you need more EMP, then taking that extra EMP, you can stack or buy additional nodes on top of it, and that will multiply the EMP you make per day. Essentially, you can have multiple gigas, multiple megas, and so on. All those will work collectively to generate EMP on a daily basis. And one really cool thing is what we talk about is once you hit 400 ROI, the nodes shut off. That is true, but they actually work collectively. So if you have multiple nodes purchased at different times, it's not like one node will just shut down and go to sleep and the other nodes keep working until they time out. They actually work collectively. So if you have multiple nodes, that ROI figure, the 400%, is a whole number. All your nodes work together as a team to generate daily EMP. Once you reach your max payout, then the nodes will shut down. But if you buy an additional node, all the nodes that you purchased already will actually work together as a team to generate collectively the EMP rewards as a whole to get you to the max payout faster.
Is there a limit to the number of nodes you can have?
No, there is no limit. You can have as many nodes as you want. The main takeaway is that you have to think about what's your goal, long-term, short-term. Short-term would be you want to have enough eShares that you can make Ethereum with, or have enough Ethereum in your wallet to pair up with EMP so that you can continue earning rewards on that EMP you generate through the eShares. Another option is to take your EMP emissions from the nodes, save them up for the next node, and then you're generating more EMP on a daily basis. We have a use case that will be coming down the road for EMP. We currently already have one in Splinterland. So right now, you can take your EMP and use that in Splinterland. Splinterland accepts that as currency. That is one use case for EMP currently. And then in the future, the team talks about other uses for EMP. So stacking nodes and holding on to EMP is not a bad thing, as it'll have more use cases as the protocol expands.
You also don't want to forget about just the flat out price appreciation of EMP. With EMP being pegged to Ethereum and paired with Ethereum in the biggest LP pairing that we have, our price action is very closely related to the price action of Ethereum. And therefore, if you feel like Ethereum is going to perform well over the next several years, then EMP is as well. So there's nothing wrong with the idea in my mind of saying, hey, I can put EMP away in my wallet. And if I have too much, I'd rather not sell it. I'd rather just hold on to it.
That's absolutely correct. Because of the way the Algo project works, if you take the charts of Ethereum and you take the chart of EMP, say you use the 4-hour chart and you overlay them, you will see an extremely strong correlation between the price movement on the charts. That's because of the LP pair. The LP pairs, the way they're structured and marry the two tokens, create movement that are very similar to each other. Now, there's little nuances on a day-to-day basis where we're above and below peg, but it's so close that they actually move together long-term when you look at it on a chart and you zoom out. So yeah, absolutely. If you are bullish on Ethereum, then you should definitely be bullish on EMP, because EMP is fractionalized Ethereum. Using EMP within the protocol, especially if you're making LPs, is an amazing way to have direct exposure to Ethereum, utilizing the power of EMP to generate high yield that you can't get anywhere else.